The death penalty, also known as capital punishment, is given to those who commit capital offenses. The capital offenses vary from state to state, but the most common ones found throughout the U.S. is that of treason or first-degree murder. Where does capital punishment come from, you may ask? It's derived from Britain. The first execution being held and documented here in the United States of America is that of Captain George Kendall in the Jamestown colony of Virginia in 1608. You may be wondering what was used to kill the condemned back in the 1600s. Well, we used the method of hanging, which was also derived from Britain and was used from the early 1600s up to the 1890s, when we found a more efficient method, also known as the electrocution chair. What would happen is the condemned would be strapped down to a chair and they would be electrocuted, which would basically fry not only their brain, but also their organs and kill them. As of today, we use the lethal injection, and how it works is that they're strapped down to a gurney, and they insert 2 needles, one as a backup. And after inserting all of the drugs or medications, they die from anesthetic overdose, respiratory, and cardiac arrest. Starting in 1794, states began opting out of giving the death penalty, unless treason or first-degree murder. The first state that opted out of using the death penalty as one of their sentences was Pennsylvania. As of today, only 32 states actually enforce the death penalty, many claiming that the Eighth Amendment is not being followed. The Eighth Amendment states excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishment inflicted. In this propaganda advertisement, we see that the Eighth Amendment may not be followed when using the death penalty. It says, "No, I don't think a chocolate on the pillow makes it any more humane," suggesting that execution is cruel punishment, which is against the Eighth Amendment. Here in California, the condemned are held in 2 prisons. If you're a male, you're held at the California State Prison in San Quentin until you're to be executed, and if you're a woman, you're held at the Women's Valley State Prison in Chowchilla, California. Here in California, we have over 700 death row inmates, the number fluctuating daily, and only about 20 being women. As shown on the picture, we have the largest, by far, death row in the United States. The last execution to have taken place here in California was that of Clarence Ray Allen. He was convicted of 3 counts of first-degree murder. He wasn't executed until 25 years after he had been sentenced to the death penalty. Goes to show how here in California, our death row inmates have almost an 80% chance of dying from either natural causes or suicide, versus only 14% of them actually being executed. Here in California, many have been opposed to the death penalty for centuries. And as of July 16th of 2014, the death penalty system was found unconstitutional because it is arbitrary and plagued with delay. Studies show that race is a huge influence in whether the defendant receives the death penalty or not. There's an 82% chance more of the defendant receiving the death penalty if it's a black defendant and a white victim, versus a white defendant and a black victim. The victims in death penalty cases, over 79% of the victims are white, while only 21% are minorities. It goes to show how race is a huge factor in their final decision. These statistics are from January of 2014 and are death row inmates from all across the United States. It shows that about 43% of the inmates are white versus that of 57% of the inmates are that of racial minorities. Proposition 34 was tried for in the year of 2011 through 2012. It was to imprison criminals for life and compensate victims' families instead of giving them the death penalty. And it was defeated with 52% opposition. A case with the possibility of the death penalty costs an average of $1.26 million versus a case in which life without parole would only cost $740,000. If the government gave all the condemned life without parole instead of death, that would automatically save California $170 million instantly. This shows how much the total of housing, state appeals, and trial of the inmates cost. If you add it all up, it's about $5 million. These are some issues with the death penalty. Not all people on death row are guilty. Racism is a major influence in the ending of the case. There are various costs which can leave California and other states in major debt. And these are only a few. Thank you.